Base carries his newly acquired furs and strolls leisurely through the forest. Suddenly, a wild pheasant appears before his eyes, so he quickly scans the area ahead and finds nothing out of the ordinary. But as he crosses the river uneasily, he is stopped by the Kiowa people. Fortunately, Base often deals with Native Americans, knows some of their language, and even recognizes the leader in front of him. After a round of chattering conversation, the leader sets his sights on the furs Base has just collected, seemingly wanting to trade them for something. Base instantly flares up. After all, he has helped these natives sell goods before. He then tells the leader that the newly collected furs are not up for trade. The leader does not care about any rules and forces Base to give in by pointing his spear at him. With no choice, Base has to agree. But when he sees that the exchange is for a black man, he immediately refuses. He himself is barely getting by, so how could he take on another burden? Seeing this, the leader resorts to force, preparing to kill Joseph in front of him and even calling in more men. Base realizes that today he will either die or suffer badly, so he cuts his losses, cursing as he agrees to the deal. The leader takes both the horse and the furs, though he shows a bit of principle by leaving the gun behind, trading all his possessions for a single enslaved man. Base grows angrier the more he thinks about it and vents his frustration on Joseph. But thinking it over, since things have come this far, he can only hope Joseph might fetch a good price. He has Joseph turn around to check his build, yet still feels he is not worth all those furs. What he does not expect is that Joseph is no ordinary man, speaking eloquently and quoting well-known sayings, clearly someone who has received an education. Base asks him where he gained such knowledge. Joseph proudly claims that he once received the finest home education in Louisiana. Base then cuts the ropes binding him. After that, Joseph asks where they are headed next. Base says he must hurry to get the furs back, otherwise he will be left with nothing. Joseph immediately follows him. Soon after, Joseph warns him that the Kiowa are strong and numerous. With just the two of them, going after them would be walking into trouble. Is he planning to put him up for trade a second time? Joseph had originally planned to avoid native territory and head to Mexico, where slavery was forbidden. Unexpectedly, he was captured, and no matter what, he refuses to go back again. Hearing this, Base realizes Joseph knows quite a bit and bluntly tells him that having black skin has already sealed his fate. No matter where he runs, it will be the same, unless he returns to live in Africa. Joseph senses that Base is also biased, becomes uncooperative on the spot, and refuses to travel with him. Seeing this, Base begins coaxing Joseph non-stop, takes his belongings, and makes him hold onto the horse's tail to keep up. Then he lets Joseph ride the horse while he leads the way on foot. Only then does Joseph begin to feel a sense of respect. Meanwhile, the Kiowa people drink the stolen liquor and grow drunk, swaying unsteadily. However, Base's kindness toward Joseph does not receive any response. Instead, Joseph seizes the moment when Base is not paying attention, turns around, mounts the horse, and prepares to flee. Base turns back and cannot help but laugh, thinking the kid has underestimated him far too much. He immediately lets out a sharp whistle, and the horse Joseph is riding comes to an abrupt stop. Thrown by the momentum, Joseph is sent flying off the horse and lands hard, completely disoriented. After this incident, Base once again feels the urge to sell Joseph. He then orders Joseph to stay put and wait while he goes to reclaim the furs. Otherwise Joseph will just get captured by the Indians again. Joseph nods repeatedly in agreement. Before long, Base catches up with the Kiowa people. By this time, the natives are already drunk beyond measure, splashing around wildly in the river. Base takes one look and secretly rejoices, especially when he sees his furs right there in front of him. Just as he is about to make a move, Joseph catches up. Angry yet helpless, Base tells Joseph to keep quiet and not alert anyone. Even with Joseph now present, Base does not dare act rashly, since there are 12 of them. At this point, Joseph tries to please Base by volunteering himself, but Base refuses. It is not Joseph's life he worries about, but those high-quality furs. After thinking it through, Base decides to act at night. He assigns Joseph to start a fire to draw attention, while he leads the horses away. The two men lie low near the Indians, preparing to reclaim the stolen goods. Just as night falls and they are about to act, another group beats them to it. These bandits immediately open fire on the drunken Indians. The defenseless natives are killed before they can react, and their scalps are taken. At the time, each scalp could earn $25 from the government, giving rise to gangs that specialized in hunting natives. Seeing this, Base immediately tells Joseph to grab the rifle, but before they can act, the hunters swiftly finish clearing the scene and leave. Base's goods are taken along with them. Overwhelmed with urgency, Base decides to get them back. Joseph freezes, wondering how they can deal with so many men. At that moment, a surviving Indian appears, staring at the bodies of his fallen companions in deep grief. Not long after Base moves on, Joseph, who is following on foot, begins to complain non-stop, exhausted and starving, questioning how he can possibly stand up to the bandits. Base instantly loses his temper, mocking how a black slave can be so delicate, saying that trading 2 bags of furs really bought him a master. Joseph insists he is an Indian rather than a slave and demands a rest and food. Annoyed by the noise, Base gives him an impromptu lesson on surviving in the wild. He pulls up wild lilies from the ground and explains that they can be eaten to stave off hunger. Leaves from plants can be used to brew tea, and aloe sap can be used to clean the body. Everything needed can be taken from nature. So Joseph is neither an Indian nor as clever as a white man, and calling him a slave is hardly wrong, so why pretend to be some delicate noble out here? Joseph is left completely stunned. From then on, whatever Base says, he obediently follows, with no more complaints. However, when Joseph takes a bite of the lily root, he nearly vomits. Base bursts into laughter. He then picks up his gun and fires a few shots, killing several wild pheasants. Before long, Joseph is devouring fragrant roasted chicken, eating with pure delight. With food and drink in his belly, Joseph immediately regains his strength. Soon, the two catch up with the hunters. At this moment, the bandits are casually playing the guitar, completely relaxed. Base decides to move closer to look for an opening. Joseph panics, knowing the difference between one full meal and lasting survival, and desperately tries to stop Base from throwing his life away. But Base has already made up his mind and charges down quickly, hiding nearby. With his furs so close within reach, Base is overwhelmed with excitement. He fixes his eyes ahead, searching for a weakness, hoping to quietly retrieve his belongings. At this moment, Joseph is also anxiously observing from the shadows, hoping to be of some help. Coincidentally, not far away, the bandit leader Howie is preparing to get intimate with his longtime lover Kate. Joseph watches with great interest. However, he gets too absorbed and accidentally slips down the slope. After climbing out of the water, Joseph is completely dazed. With so many gun barrels pointed at him, he starts babbling nonsense and hastily lies that he was chased here by Indians. During this, he acts as if he belongs there. He claims that his trials and suffering are finally over, and that he has encountered a group of angels. The bald Howie almost bursts out laughing, thinking this kid is quite the flatterer. Worried that Joseph might be a spy sent by the Indians, Howie asks if he is alone. Joseph replies that he is, saying he was adopted by the Wolf clan of the Comanche, but grew tired of that life and ran away. Joseph thinks that gaining sympathy will earn his freedom, but instead Howie asks his men how much a black slave like this is worth. The men say at least $1,000. In a larger district, selling him for $1,500 would be no problem. Immediately after, a rope is thrown over Joseph, and he is turned into merchandise once again. Joseph is dragged away in confusion, barely escaping one danger only to fall into another. He keeps looking back, hoping Base will step in to save him. Base is equally anxious, and for now can only follow the hunters, waiting for a chance to reclaim both the furs and Joseph. And so this long game of pursuit officially begins. Joseph is dragged along by the rope and suffers greatly. Soon, he starts to slack off again, this time claiming he is worried his feet will be ruined. And if that happens, how could he sell for a higher price? Hearing this, Howie finds the reasoning somewhat valid and lets Joseph sit on the wagon. No one has ever seen someone as bold as Joseph. When no one is paying attention, he grabs a water bucket and quietly heads to the river, hoping to slip away right under the bandits' noses. However, his little trick is quickly noticed by the leader Howie. Just as Joseph is about to dart into the woods, a gun is pressed against his lower back. The man holding it is none other than his former owner, Base. Base risks sneaking deep into the bandits' camp to tell Joseph to act as an inside man, and when the time is right, he will rescue him. With a gun pressed into his back, Joseph has no choice but to keep playing along with the bandits. At that moment, Howie walks over, and Joseph instantly puts on a flattering smile, claiming he is studying the local plants. Luckily, Base had previously taught him about plants. Using what he just learned, Joseph manages to fool them. However, his restless nature resurfaces when he starts staring at the lady of the camp with obvious admiration, and Howie catches him in the act. Joseph is so embarrassed he wishes he could crawl into a hole, but when he learns that the woman plans to go to Mexico, he is utterly shocked and instantly energized, because Mexico is also his destination, a place without the crushing system of slavery. As for why the bald Howie plans to go to Mexico, it is because they are wanted in multiple states and have no choice but to live abroad. Joseph thinks to himself that instead of being an inside man, it would be better to stay on Kate's good side, so the journey might be easier. So Joseph sweet-talks her relentlessly, charming her completely. He then suggests using aloe sap to wash her hair and even style it fashionably. While washing her hair, he chats and confirms again that they are heading to Mexico, and Joseph is overjoyed. He completely forgets the undercover task Base assigned him. At this moment, all he can do is pray that Base does nothing reckless. Kate is intoxicated by the emotional comfort Joseph provides and suddenly feels 10 years younger. Even Howie cannot help but praise him. Joseph gains the approval of both of them. Soon, everyone gathers to enjoy a campfire dance. With every man paired with a woman, Joseph watches with growing excitement, desperately wanting to join in and show off his dance moves. Just then, a female dancer is flung aside, and Joseph instinctively pulls her into his arms, deciding to dance first and think later, giving it everything he has. Base watches from afar with deep envy, but soon, Joseph is greeted with a punch, and the music abruptly stops. Joseph is stunned, wondering if dancing well is also a crime. When he gets back on his feet, he realizes he has taken someone else's partner. The bandits immediately beat Joseph, furious that a slave would openly steal a dance partner and steal the spotlight at their gathering. Joseph is beaten so badly that he can barely recognize himself. Others even encourage him to fight back. Eager for fresh entertainment, Base watches from afar, filled with frustration and disappointment. Joseph never fights back. Joseph's restraint is not weakness, but a choice, because he does not want to ruin the trust he worked so hard to build with Howie and Kate. But when humiliation goes too far, even the weakest man will eventually explode. The bandit nearly gets burned alive. Humiliated beyond measure, he pulls out a knife and prepares to kill Joseph on the spot. Seeing this, Base raises his gun and waits for an opening, but Howie unexpectedly steps in to stop it. He does not want to lose $1,500 so easily, and besides, the way his men handled it was unfair. Joseph narrowly escapes death. He then goes to the river to wash the bad luck from his face, and at that moment Base emerges from the water, still teasing him for knowing how to dance but not how to fight. Joseph is nearly scared out of his mind, constantly glancing around, afraid of being beaten again and ruining his handsome face. Base then says the chance to escape has arrived. He tells Joseph to take advantage of the moonlight to lead the horse carrying the furs across the river, while he draws the bandits' attention from the other side. A classic diversion that can reclaim the goods and allow Joseph to escape safely. But at this point, Joseph no longer wants to leave. He flatters Base first, then explains that Howie is taking everyone to Mexico, which happens to be his destination as well, so there is no need to risk their lives for the furs. Base instantly explodes with anger, saying that he used those furs to save Joseph from the Indians, and now Joseph wants to walk away. Forgetting who his master is, Joseph immediately fires back, saying he now belongs to Howie. His value is higher than before. Staying with Howie proves his worth, and he can still go to Mexico where there is no discrimination. Base is stunned, realizing this kid is nothing but a fence-sitter. Left with no choice, Base decides to act alone. He smears mud on his face, sneaks into the area where the horses are kept, silently knocks out the guard with one strike, and quickly loads the furs onto a horse. A lookout posted above somehow fails to notice anything, but just as Base is about to lead the horse across the river, he is spotted by a bandit relieving himself, who immediately opens fire. Other bandits join in, and the continuous gunfire startles the horse. No matter how hard Base pulls, the horse refuses to cross. With no other option, Base abandons the horse and runs for his life, barely escaping being riddled with bullets. The bandits assume it was a rebellious Indian, but Joseph knows exactly who took the furs, and anxiety creeps in, because if this keeps happening, how will he ever make it to Mexico? On the way, the bandit leader Howie is drunkenly showing off when he is mocked by his own men. Just as he starts raging, a bullet suddenly flies in. The bandits are stunned, unsure where the shot came from. Howie tries to pull out his revolver, but another bullet comes whizzing past. The marksmanship is so precise that even the fearless Howie feels inferior. The unseen shooter orders Howie to step forward or be shot. After years ruling the West, Howie faces someone more ruthless for the first time and obeys. Joseph looks visibly anxious, as if he already knows who the shooter is. Once Howie steps forward, the man orders him to remove his hat, reveal his bald head, and place his hands on his ears. When told to return the furs, Howie angrily shouts that he risked his life killing over a dozen Indians to get them and will never give them back to Base. What Howie does not know is that these furs were taken from Base when the Indians forced him to trade Joseph. Seeing Howie refuse to budge, a furious Base shoots him in the ear to make it clear who was in charge. Bleeding, Howie immediately orders his men to release the pack horse. He never expected Base to be this serious. Base then tells Howie to keep moving and not look back. Howie leaves in a rage. Once safe, he swears Base will not get away with this. This makes Joseph even more anxious, because he plans to follow Howie's caravan to Mexico, and Base has now thrown everything into uncertainty. Base stays hidden above, quietly waiting for them to leave. But before they go far, Howie orders 2 men to flank from the side. Yancey and Frank roll off their horses and quietly approach Base's position. Seeing that Base is not moving to take the horse, they grow impatient. Suddenly, Base appears behind Yancey without a sound. As a seasoned hunter, dealing with 2 lackeys is effortless. Base drops his gun and throws Yancey down with his bare hands. Then he flicks a throwing knife backward, sending Yancey straight to his end. Meanwhile, Howie is still anxiously waiting for good news. He does not know that another man is already on his way to the same fate. Frank sneaks up behind Base, only to find spent shells scattered on the ground and no sign of him. As he steps closer to investigate, Base suddenly appears behind him and shoots him without hesitation. The gunshot quickly reaches Howie's ears, and he assumes his men have taken Base down, riding over with the others to celebrate. At this moment, Base is already leading a horse away with the furs when Howie arrives and starts firing at him. Base flees at full speed with the horse. After a long chase, Howie shoots the pack horse, with his furs so close yet impossible to take. Base leaves in frustration and helpless rage. This battle over the furs ends with Howie losing 2 key men. Joseph, however, grins from ear to ear, but Base is not the kind to give up easily. When Howie's group reaches a narrow path beside a cliff, Base reappears like a ghost and pushes rocks down to block their advance. He demands they release the pack horse and return the furs, or he will use even more dangerous methods. After repeated encounters, even Howie grows afraid and pretends to agree while trying to escape. Base sees through the act and sends all the rocks crashing down the slope. Howie's men suffer heavy casualties, and a wagon is destroyed. Enraged, the bandits spray bullets toward Base. Base quickly retreats. Seeing Base relentlessly pursue them, a desperate Joseph comes up with a plan. He decides to persuade Howie through Kate. Since Kate believes in superstition and astrology, Joseph prepares in advance, feeds her a stream of vague interpretations, and she fully believes him. Only then does Joseph reveal his point, saying all the bloodshed is caused by one object: the furs on the horse. If the furs are discarded, the journey to Mexico will go smoothly. Kate believes him and goes to persuade Howie. The next day, Joseph is tied up, and Kate is beaten badly around the eyes. At a calm water source, the exhausted bandits finally arrive after wandering the desert for 7 days and nights. The moment they see water, they rush in wildly, both men and animals drinking from the same muddy pool. Soon something strange happens. As the horses become unusually excited, they begin kicking and bucking, while the bandits desperately hold the reins to keep them from bolting. Chaos erupts like a circus gone mad. Howie is thrown from his horse, staring in disbelief at the disaster unfolding before him. This incident causes severe losses among his men. Watching from the hillside, the mastermind is quietly satisfied with his work. He does this only to reclaim the stolen furs. Before long, Howie figures it out. Someone used a Comanche method to poison the water, causing the horses to lose control. Afterward, the bandits bury their dead as they continue south toward Mexico. Each time disaster strikes, more men are lost, all because of the 2 crates of stolen furs. Yet Howie would rather lose more men than give them back. Morale within the group collapses, as everyone just wants to leave America alive. This only makes Howie more agitated. At this point, Joseph steps forward despite his status and begs Howie to return the furs. Enraged, Howie moves to punish him. Joseph hurriedly says he knows the man responsible. Everyone stares at him in shock. Joseph then tells the whole story. His goal is simple: to live in Mexico without slavery, but his delayed confession earns him a brutal beating from Howie. Joseph quickly says he can negotiate with Base, because with so few men left, if they do not seek peace, no one will make it out. Seeing his exhausted crew, Howie agrees. Joseph takes a bottle of whiskey and goes to negotiate. Soon, he meets Base. By now, Base no longer trusts him or the bandits' promises, but the bottle of whiskey instantly softens the tension between them. After Joseph's sincere persuasion, Base agrees to lower his weapon and let them go. The condition is simple: return the furs and wipe the slate clean. Joseph immediately relays the deal, telling the bandits to leave the furs and go. Even so, Base does not feel at ease. He takes Joseph hostage and goes down with him to retrieve the furs. As expected, Howie springs a trap, rising from the ground, knocking Base down, and tying him up. Joseph desperately tries to reason with Howie. When Howie prepares to kill Base, Joseph rushes in to stop him and accidentally grabs the knife. Base lights up, realizing Joseph still has a conscience, but Howie exploits Joseph's desire to reach Mexico, telling him to drop the knife or no one will take him there. Joseph hesitates and slowly places the knife on the ground. Caught between conscience and a better future, he cannot choose. In the end, Joseph decides to help neither side and lets them settle it themselves. Howie lunges for Base's gun but is kicked away. Base struggles to free the gun and throws it aside. Howie dives for it. Joseph steps in again, grappling with Howie. A gunshot rings out, and Howie is accidentally hit and collapses. Joseph's dream of a peaceful future shatters in an instant. Base, however, cannot hide his excitement and praises Joseph repeatedly. Dejected, Joseph gulps down whiskey to steady himself. He then robs Howie's body, mounts Base's horse, takes the furs, and prepares to cross into Mexico alone, joking that this is the victor's reward. Base tries to calm him while secretly loosening his ropes. After mocking him, Joseph rides off at full speed. Base quickly frees himself and whistles, sending Joseph flying off the horse once again. Base mocks him in return, but when Base mounts the horse to leave, Joseph whistles back, stopping the horse and throwing Base flat on his back. Since neither can escape, the only option left is a duel. They trade blows fiercely, fighting with everything they have. After waiting a long time with no sign of Howie, the remaining bandits return and find him already dead. Kate sighs that so many lives were lost over a pile of furs, wondering what it was all for. The bandits then notice Base and Joseph still fighting nearby, neither willing to give in. Just as they raise their guns to kill both men, a long Indian arrow flies in. Moments later, the natives attack the bandits mercilessly. It was this very group that slaughtered 11 of their people and took their scalps. After the battle, the natives wipe out the bandits and take the women back to their tribe, including Kate. Kate willingly goes with them and even recommends a new brand of whiskey. Meanwhile, Base and Joseph continue grappling with each other. Utterly exhausted, the natives laugh heartily at the sight of the two odd men. In the end, they take Base's furs and leave Joseph behind. Everything seems to return to where it began, and with that, the film comes to an end. I am a film enthusiast. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.